Ladies and gentlemen, it is your host, WRAPSTAR Boxing. This is a special show. We have a great guest in the show today, the man himself. It's a pleasure to have him, the WBC president, Mr. Mauricio Sulaiman. Thank you so much for coming to our boxing show, Mauricio. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you so much. It's a real honor for me to be in WRAPSTAR and to share some of the insights of this beautiful sport and this great family of the World Boxing Council.
Yes, so Mauricio, no further ado, I really want to touch on the position in how the WBC transitioned many years ago. I think it was in the 1960s. I'd love for you to share with us, how did your father transition into such a beautiful sport like boxing?
Well, my father grew up in a very small town in Mexico, outside in Ciudad Valles. His friends were boxers, and he started boxing and training, and he immediately realized how difficult the sport was, how brutal, how abuse that all fighters had to go through in all aspects. No medicals, the payments were very limited. The fighters would have to fight even if they were hurt. So many things he started to realize when he was just a little boy, and he went from all the aspects in the sport, from ring announcer, judge, referee, uh, assistant of the commission, then a commissioner, president of a boxing commission, president of the National Boxing Commission of Mexico, and then eventually he entered the WBC and was elected president in 1975. When my father entered the WBC, his only condition was to be able to change the sport, to make the changes in the rules that allowed everything to go into the future. And the WBC only priority has been the safety of the fighters, and the so many changes that have happened have been with medical research and changing the rules, changing the protocols, making many different things to make boxing safer. If you compare boxing today to 40 years ago to 50, 60 years ago, it's a completely different sport.
That's amazing. And you know, another thing that, Mauricio, can you hear me? Can you hear me, my brother?
Yes, perfectly.
Right. And another thing I wanted to touch on before I bring my brother, there's another brother from the other side, Punch Drunk Boxing, is you guys actually, when you came into the sport, your father was very concerned about the safety of the fighters. And is it true that WBC are one of the first foundations which transparent into making the sport more safer than what it is today, for what it is today?
Yes, absolutely. The WBC, in reality, was the pioneer in medical research to make changes. So the rules that existed for 1 century evolved through the WBC changes. There was medical research done at UCLA. The WBC funded with $1 million a study for brain health. And in 1978, it was discovered so many things about what was happening with the punches. So the WBC reduced from 15 to 12 rounds. They changed the day of the weigh-in to do 1 day before, introduced 4 ropes instead of 3 ropes, the glove certification and changing of all the gloves, the medicals, mandatory annual medicals, medical before and after the fights, suspensions, anti-doping, so many changes that have made boxing much safer. We have put a lot of effort in the education, training, evaluation, and certification of referees for their mechanics to make sure that they change and the only concern is the safety of the fighters. Before, the referees used to score the rounds like a judge, so their concentration was completely different. So I can say that the WBC can pride of all the changes that have made boxing safer.
That's totally amazing. And another thing I want to touch on before I bring Punch Drunk Boxing in is, are you doing a lot behind the scenes with the retired fighters? I've seen that WBC is one of the most vocal foundations who actually is looking to help the boxing community and help the retired fighters. Is that a program that you have put together?
Yes, the WBC has a very strong social responsibility side in our organization. Jill Diamond, she's the chairwoman. She's done tremendous job. We have WBC Cares, which is a program worldwide where we go out, reach out to children's hospitals, schools, orphanages, jail systems, gymnasiums. We have so many ambassadors that together we go out and reach out to those in need, and it is very satisfactorily. We have also the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which was created with Hublot, the watch manufacturer, and what they do is they created a fund that is independent and administered by the Nevada Community Foundation, and we give grants to fighters in need from all over the world. We have the awareness programs for bullying, for addictions, for driving while texting, obesity, nutrition. We have so many things that we do, but it is only possible because there's so many members of the WBC who volunteer to go out to the society and change lives.
Hey, Punch, please could you take the floor and ask the great questions to Mauricio?
Mr. Mauricio Surmon, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está?
Muy bien.
Estoy bien también. Yo soy dominicano, pues sé español también.
Muy bien. Saludos a la Dominicana, país hermano de México.
Sí, saludos. I wanted to ask more of a question and statement, because you've been one of the most transparent, more visible of all belt federation. You have been the WBC is the most prestige belt accomplishment, and not only the most prestige as for champions, but champions outside of boxing. Like you just said, how you help the autism, how you help retire fighters. In boxing, there's no pension, but you got to do a great job in understanding fighters, active fighters, and fighters, that's retired. What made the organization expand their prestige? Because I don't know if other belt federations do the same thing, y'all, but what made y'all be so prestige outside of boxing than just in the sport of boxing? I think the WBC is bigger than just boxing right now, and I think that's where y'all heading at.
Thank you. That it has been the vision that the WBC has always had, is to be with the fighters before, during, and after their championship year. So we're very close to the amateurs. We're very close to the current fighters, of course, the champions. And once they retire, we're always there for them. So it's been a vision that has been shared by all the members of the WBC. It's our commitment to always be close to the fighters and to the boxing community, reach out and do things together and help out always to try to make things better for everyone. The relentless pursuit of safety and justice. That's something that is very important. We have always searched for safety for the fighters and justice. We work very hard. There's so many things that we do every single day, every day of the year, all over the world. So one of the greatest assets that we have is the champions, the legendary champions who have held the green and gold. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Duran, Chavez, Hagler, Hearns, Arguello, Monzon, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez. And if you look at the biggest names ever in the sport, they have all had the WBC green and gold belt, and they have represented the best of our sport. So it is a matter of understanding that life is a cycle. You can be here and then it moves up and then you can go down again. But as long as you keep working and you keep faith and you keep principles, then you are ready to be of service to everyone.
Amen. Amen. I also want to ask you, because the WBC do a great job in evolutionizing the sport, and you're always into the pulse of what's happening outside of boxing, like society, like the Black Lives Matters, whatever's going on, whatever social issue there is in sports. And June 19th, we have a lot of fights. You got Teofimo Lopez that's holding WBC franchise and part of the WBC family, and he's very vocal about fighting in Juneteenth, which is in America is Freedom Day. You know, when they freed the slaves. Would you, and the Libertarian Day, would you be would the WBC do something special for that day, Juneteenth, like boxing has Cinco de Mayo, boxing has the Puerto Rican Day Parade, when Cotto was fighting, they have those prestige days, and Juneteenth could be one of those prestige days in boxing. Would WBC be a part of Juneteenth?
Yes, we have a big surprise coming up for Juneteenth. So it's something that you are the first one to ask, and I'm very happy, and you will see soon enough what is going to happen.
Great. Thank you, Mauricio Sulaiman. That's all. I love how you evolutionized the game. And Punch Drunk Boxing is here to support the WBC because y'all doing great things in the sport of boxing. More power to you. God bless you, you and your family, and the sport of boxing.
Thank you so very much, and I deeply appreciate this opportunity to have this great information to reach the fans of the world, because we don't have these avenues to tell what we do. So this is very important for us. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, but thank you. God bless you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here, my friend.
Punch, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm having some audio difficulties, Mauricio. Today, I'm really sorry I'm having some audio difficulties, but, I'm thinking of conducting another interview with you on my computer because the audio doesn't seem to be great with me.
Yeah, it's today's world. That's technology, so don't worry about it. It happens.
Hey, Punch, do you mind asking a couple more questions while I get my audio fixed?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
You can also, if you want to text in the chat the questions, it's okay. I can answer whatever is good for you, my friend.
Okay.
Well, Mauricio, I got a question for you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So you grew up idolizing. You must have idolized your father, what he's done for the sport. When you grew up to the sport, what was your best memories? I want to know some of the memories that you shared with Dad, with some of the fighters, maybe like Muhammad Ali. Is there something you could share with us?
Well, my father was always my hero, my God. Ever since I grew up, for some reason, I was very close to him. We are 6 siblings, and I was the one closest to him always. So I grew up having the great blessing of having Muhammad Ali, Don King, Larry Holmes, Leonard, Chavez, Duran, all these people come to my house. We go to school, we come back, and then for lunch, we would have a world champion or a very humble amateur fighter or a trainer or a boxer. So we lived around boxing since I can remember. My father's passion for boxing was unique. There's no way to describe how much he dedicated day after day to make boxing better and to have unity in the world. He works so hard to make things flow and change. And he had just so much passion and so much vision. He knew what fighters were going through, so he had all this determination to make the changes, which successfully happened, and many lives have been saved, and the quality of life for the fighters after the ring have been much more improved. And I just have so many memories with my father, good ones, bad ones. I remember seeing him in the living room by himself, just sad when something happened in the ring, when there was an accident in the ring, when a fighter who was a great hero lost everything and was living in misery. So he had so many dreams and so many plans that most of them he was able to realize in his lifetime. And that is the drive that the WBC has. That is my inspiration to wake up every day and try to do my best to make boxing better for the fighter.
That's amazing, Mauricio. And it seems like you are, building his legacy with everything that your father's done for the sport of boxing. But can I ask you, in the, coming forward in the current affairs right now, as the WBC moves forward, it seems like right now you have implemented a new structure to the WBC belt. Is that a franchise belt, which is a new structure to the WBC?
It is a new concept which began 2-3 years ago. It's a very unique and very particular. It is only designed for the top of the top fighters in the world who deserve a structure that provides the possibility of them making the biggest fights possible. So when you have a franchise champion in a division, which is only a very few, we only have Canelo Alvarez, we have Teófimo Lopez, and we have Estrada. And Canelo Alvarez right now, he's fighting in super middleweight, so he's not really using any of the benefits from the franchise designation. But Teófimo Lopez, he's the undisputed, and he's using the franchise designation. He's fighting Cambosos, and then leading to other great fights that can happen in the lightweight division. The franchise designation allowed for Estrada to do the third fight against Chocolatito, and then Cuadras and Rungvisai will fight, and then both winners will fight. So that will make a great tournament. And that is basically what the franchise concept and system is trying to do: create tournaments to lead up for fights for the fans' enjoyment.
And that's amazing. Mauricio, I'll be very straight with you. A lot of channels and media platforms seem to get confused. For me, it seems very simple. It seems like the franchise is making legacy. It seems like the franchise is the legacy for a fighter that can make amazing, great fights. If you can get those fights, the franchise will put that fighter in that position. So if it's going to make the biggest fights, isn't that something which should be celebrated for fighters? I don't see why some people are confused about that, Mauricio.
Well, the human nature is to have resistance to change. That's a fact, and that has always been. So every change that we have introduced in our history has had so much resistance and pullback. The purists and the traditionalists and those who cannot think outside a box have a lot of concerns when something is changed and moved. But if you look at other sports, they have changed, they have evolved. The NFL now has 18 games, 18 weeks instead of the 17 that they had, with 17 games for each team. They have changed the structure of the leagues. In baseball, you have so many things that have been incorporated to make the sport more current to the time. So I feel comfortable, and when there's critics, I take them and I take all responsibility. And time will prove that these changes are for the good of boxing.
But I will say this, Mauricio, that as soon as you implemented the Estrada versus Gonzalez Part 3 fight, every fan started to respect the franchise a bit more. They realized that this is a fight that everybody wanted to see again because of the controversy in the second fight. And when you guys are giving these kind of fights to the fans, now they're kind of realizing that this franchise model seems to be a new model. So you need to give it time so that the franchise can have legacy behind it. Is that kind of correct?
That's absolutely correct. It is something that provides flexibility for the management of a division and recognizes the greatness of a fighter or a structure of fighters in a certain division. So instead of taking the title away and forcing a mandatory, we put everyone on the table, negotiate, and make great fights. So I think it's something that will eventually have the acceptance once time continues to go by.
That's excellent. And one more question before I hand it over to Punch is, if in this current affairs, we've seen Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney going back and forth all over the world. People are speaking about these kind of fights for the WBC. Now, if Devin Haney wants to fight Teofimo Lopez in the near future, and you've already currently said Teofimo is ready to fight anyone. You said it on one of the shows that he's always been vocal, that he will fight anyone, all comers, Devin Haney. So if that fight ever materializes, what belts would they fight for? And would Devin Haney need to vacate his WBC title, regular title, to fight for the Supreme Championship?
No. If they get into the ring, of course, Teofimo's franchise and Haney as the WBC champion, they would be fighting for the ultimate glory. So the winner of that fight would hold the franchise designation and the WBC championship. So that would be the ultimate fight that could result in great interest. There's a mix of fighters. Linares, he's very strong. They're fighting tomorrow.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. And then you have Fortuna, who is fighting Diaz. That's going to be a sensational fight. The winner of Fortuna and Diaz is a mandatory for Haney. And then we have Teofimo doing his fight against Cambosos, which is also a very great fight. And then you have Ryan Garcia, who is trying to recover. And then there's Lomachenko. So there's many great fights that can be made in the lightweight division.
So actually, if the fight happens, Devin Haney brings his belt to Teofimo Lopez, or Teofimo Lopez fights for, because he has 2 WBC belts. He has 2 certificates, a franchise and a WBC belt as well. So would he fight for those belts, Devin Haney? Would he fight for Teo's belts? How would that work?
It's both. It's ultimate unification. When a franchise decides to fight again for the championship, everything is at stake.
Okay, Punch.
Oh no, I also understand, the evolution of the WBC and the evolution of implementing the franchise. Because think about it, we did get Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko, which it was 4.2 million, the most watched boxing event last year. That's what the franchise actually did, bring us the most viewed fight. We also, and then Chocolatito Estrada, that's a huge fight. That's what the franchise is also giving us. So I'm okay with the franchise. I understand the franchise. I understand that things evolutionize in life, And hey, when you go to school, you don't stay with your kindergarten teacher all the way to your college. You evolutionize yourself.
No, you don't.
And people are, they stay with the same type of, it's like medicine. It's like science. Science evolutionized. Athletes understand their body even more because the evolution of science, So the world is always going to evolutionize. The people that don't get it, they're just going to stay behind. So the WBC is setting the tone to evolutionize boxing, to evolutionize what you do outside of boxing. And this is why the WBC is respected highly. This is why the fighters call it the prestige title. So I understand the franchise. Of course, there's going to be a point where Teofimo Lopez is undisputed. He beat Lomachenko for franchise. He's the lineal champion as well,
Yeah.
and Devin Haney is a champion, is a champion as well. If they both mesh, I do think all the belts is on the line. Um, but I understand people may have the confusion, but but if they understand evolution, then they understand what the WBC is doing. How I want to ask you about the this year, the status of boxing. It's an undisputed year. I call it an undisputed year. 2021. We just seen a bunch of undisputed. We got Deshawn that she's fighting for undisputed on the Teofimo Lopez card as well. Um, what do you feel about boxing? I mean, we're about to have 5 undisputed probably in 1 year, and in the span of 20 or 17 years, we only had like 2 undisputed unification bouts. What do you feel about the sport of boxing today?
The sport of boxing is booming. We are living a golden era for sport. If you realize how 2021, which the WBC designated as a year of boxing, it began with a bang. Ryan Garcia knocking out Luke Campbell after coming out from the canvas, getting up from the canvas. Then Chocolatito Estrada. Then Berchelt with that dramatic knockout from the new champion, who is just a tremendous force now in the sport as well. Oscar Valdez, tremendous knockout. Then you had Canelo with 73,000 fans at the Cowboy Stadium doing a great performance. Katie Taylor, what a great fight. Josh Taylor, the last weekend against Ramirez was tremendous. And what we have coming up, so I love the way you call Undisputed 2021, the Undisputed year. We're going through a great era of the sport, and we just have to keep moving forward, have to make those fights. Manny Pacquiao is coming back and fighting Errol Spence, and it's just something that is very exciting. Tyson Fury is going to fight Wilder for the 3rd time, and then just so many great fights that are up on the horizon.
Yeah, Brian That's totally amazing. And Jermell Charlo, undisputed.
Yeah,
Jermell Charlo against Castaño. I mean, everything is out there. The Charlo brothers are a great story for the sport. So I'm just very excited, and we know that we have to do the things that are needed to move forward, and we are being flexible and understanding that there are still COVID-19 restrictions worldwide and concerns. We have to move forward and be very cautious, but be very firm and support every promotion.
And you know, Mauricio, it seems like when at COVID that you were very active. You started a program. I was reading the program for everybody to get out of the house, start exercising, and the WBC was very, very motivating people in the COVID times.
Yes, once we realized it was a reality back in March of last year, instead of hiding in our basement or eating the refrigerator and watching Netflix all day, we decided to get very active. We created the WBC Talks, a daily program in English and Spanish. We created the WBC Workout in social media to motivate people to exercise. We did awareness videos for domestic violence, because all this concern and being isolated created problems for anyone with a mental health. We did the WBC convention virtual, which was sensational. We created a protocol to work with all boxing commissions and promoters to have boxing fights without public, and so many other things that we're just very active, very happy, and knowing that life would turn around as it is doing right now, and boxing is at the peak of everything.
I wanted to ask you also, because I'm very sad how, you know, the amateur circuit is in America. I mean, only 6 people was, you know, picked to represent the USA team, 4 women and 2 men. I feel like the amateur circuit in America, excuse me, in America is winding down. What do you think? What do you think should happen in the for the amateurs, so people could stay in the amateur boxing and represent the country? What is going on in the amateur circuit that it's not as strong as used to be. It's not as prestige when Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali won, when Oscar De La Hoya, Andre Ward. It seems like there's a downfall in amateur boxing. Do you think it's a sponsor problem or?
No, it's a problem worldwide. The AIBA, which was the federation selected by the International Olympic Committee to run boxing worldwide, had changes, and they started a campaign to try to get into the business. Instead of caring for the sport and the fighters, they tried to get into the business. They had a president, Dr. Wu, and he created the idea of having professionals fight in the Olympic Games. And they started signing fighters as managers and started promoting events as promoters. So there was a tremendous conflict of interest. They abandoned the great programs of so many countries because boxing is one of the few worldwide sports in which it provides the sole opportunity for one country to win a medal. They abandoned the basics of the sport, and now we're suffering the consequences. So many boxing programs were lost. I believe in the USA Boxing, which is the organization in charge of amateur boxing, and groups like the Golden Gloves, like Sugar Burt Wells. He's doing great tournaments. We have the WBC Green Belt Challenge for amateurs. I believe what needs to happen is for the International Olympic Committee to regroup and to create a group to run amateur boxing worldwide with the interest of going back to basics, of developing kids so they have a dream of winning a medal for their country, and then they can go on to professional. But you cannot mix professionals and amateurs in boxing because it's not a game. You don't play and you don't score goals or land baskets. Here you have a dangerous sport where you can ruin the future of a kid if you put him in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Can you imagine Canelo going to the Olympics, or any of the current champions or any of the current contenders? That is a very dangerous, but I see a lot of hope because there's so much boxing worldwide. So much boxing. Many of it is not organized, but there's the will and there's the need to have the sport.
That's amazing. Hey,
Agree.
Mauricio, so I need a question for all my British people. They've always, when boxers have come from young, have always wanted to be a WBC champion. Because all the British fighters from young, when you look at Nigel Benn, Nassim Hamed, Joe Calzaghe, Lennox Lewis, these people were very vocal wanting to be the WBC champion. How much does British boxing mean to you, Mauricio Sulaiman, and those champions which represented you?
Well, it means the whole world because boxing was born in England, in the UK.
100%.
The WBC was founded with the British Boxing Board of Control as a founding member. The first champion of my father's era was John H. Tracy. He won the title. He knocked out Mantequilla Nápoles one day after my father was elected president. And we have had great members of the WBC board from England. The fighters themselves are tremendous. And today, England is the most important country for boxing. It's booming. The fans are the best. They are very into the sport. They are always very active. They have so much passion, and there's so much quality and talent in the UK. I'm just very, very happy to be part of this era in which I can see there's so many great potential that there is out there in England.
Yeah, and I got one question that nobody asked you, because I know it means a lot to you. That even the WBC, when it comes to the smallest details, it's the biggest details in the world. Your belts are your babies. I've seen how you make those belts. They take handmade. And you've also have a story with some of these belts, which are iconic stories. Like you made the Emerald belt for Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather. It was a $1 million belt, handmade.
Yes.
So these belts that have stories and the way that you put them together. I mean, even the Canelo belt has a story. the Canelo belt you made for Billy Joe Saunders. Can you touch to me how these belts and how they get made and how long they take?
Sure. We have had a great interest in making special commemorative belts, which are unique, which are special trophies. They are not a new championship. It's just a special trophy for a special event. So we created for May 5th and September 16th commemorative belts based on the cultures of Mexico, because those 2 dates are the most important for fights that take place. If you see the history 40 years back, always on the Cinco de Mayo weekend and September 16 weekend, the biggest fights take place. So we had 5 editions of those. They're made, handmade by the states with the culture, with the artisans and the Indians from that region. And it's just a beauty on the making. They take 400 hours to make, and they put a piece of their heart into that piece, which is unique. That is given to the winner of that fight, regardless of if it's a championship or not a championship. For example, Tyson Fury was awarded the Mayan belt when he fought Wallin.
Yeah, the Maya belt.
So these are special belts. The ones like Floyd, he has the golden belt. It was a pure gold plaque when he fought Canelo. Then he has the emerald belt when he fought Manny Pacquiao. That's all emeralds and gold. It's an unbelievable piece. Then when he fought Conor McGregor, there was the money belt, because he was made with a crocodile skin, gold and emeralds and diamonds. So we just give a special added value that brings the attention of many others who would not watch boxing. So this gives them the opportunity to bring more fans, more attention. We see grandmothers looking at it because we go to programs and we do road show with the belts. It's only promoting the sport, nothing else.
Excellent. Punch.
Maurice, I want you to look out for this fighter que yo le ayudé. I helped him get signed to Kenny Porter. El nombre de Henry La Bazooka Cedeño Martinez. La Bazooka.
Okay.
I want you to remember that name. He's already 2-0.
I'll send Punch. I'll send Mauricio the videos of the fighter that you have.
Please do that. Is
I
he
will do that for
Dominican?
Mauricio.
Es dominicano, yes.
Perfecto. Ojalá
Okay, and
llegue a ser.
Mauricio, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
He will be WBC champion once. I will be proud to put the belt on him.
Yes, he will. You're gonna see. Yes, he will. I think that again, evolutionizing the game that you have done, and the great thing that you did for Jack Johnson a couple of years ago when you went to the Oval Office.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was big that you was a part of that. Visiting the Pope with Deontay Wilder. I think that it's not because I'm talking to you, but it seems like you're going out and beyond. You're different from the other belt federation because you're out there. You want to expand this sport, and you're vocal about it, and you're visible, and you're transparent. And I don't see the other belt federation as influential and to evolutionize the sport of boxing like yourself. Is there one? What do you think you feel is missing in boxing, or that you wish others would do to evolutionize the game? What you think that boxing is missing?
Boxing needs unity. Very unfortunately, we are very negative in this sport. There's always a need to have controversy, always a need to find a black spot in a shining moment. But as I say, that's human nature. I wish promoters would work more closely together. The sport should work as an industry, because let me tell you, boxing is the only sport in which the league, like the WBC, has nothing to do with the business of the sport. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, all sports, the league controls the television contracts, the sponsorship, They sell the teams as franchises, so they control the everything that has to do with the sport. So you would never see in a NFL or baseball game the announcers trashing the league or trashing the sport. What we see in boxing, usually there's always bad things being told on the stories where they are not necessary. If there's a decision that maybe it's a little bit wide and the fight was closer, but still the right winner won, instead of everybody praising that he won, everybody goes and says, oh, this judge was bad, blah, blah, blah. So we need more positive. We need a different attitude from the fans, from the media, from the boxers, from the promoters, from the organizations, from everyone. Push the industry up, not down. That's what needs to be done.
I agree, because I tweeted also a couple of days ago, just because a network, you have different networks and you got different promoters in those networks, and then there's a big fight. For example, I'm just gonna give an example. Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, Undisputed. I think everybody in boxing should cater to this matchup. I think everybody should talk about it. Not, for example, if you're not an ESPN network and you're working for ESPN, your personality, you don't talk about it because you don't work for ESPN. It does no service for boxing if we all know it's a big fight, but I'm not going to say anything about it because I'm not part of ESPN. And I think it's true. Boxing needs unity, because boxing, it's not a dying sport, but also, is it a growing sport? That's the question. Is it growing like UFC? Is it growing like other entities in which we are the one that's holding boxing down?
Yeah, but these new things with the social media and with the YouTubers getting into the ring, we have to jump and support and structure it, because it's bringing millions of young kids who do not watch television. They watch their iPad and their telephone, and if they see boxing, then they can lead to go and start watching our sport. Instead of pushing it out, let's give it a structure. Let's help them organize something. But we need to change. We need to grow and evolutionize.
That's a very good point.
Hold on, right. I wanted to say this. This is the way boxing contradicts itself. There's people that says, oh man, boxing is not like before. These guys don't fight each other like they once was, right? But then you implement a franchise so we could see those great fights.
Exactly.
And then they still want to criticize you. It's like people are never content. It's crazy how in boxing people contradict themselves as well. When you're trying to bring the best and you're trying to bring the best fight, but yet the same people want to argue that boxing, we're not seeing the best fighting the best, but you bring an element so we could see that, you still get criticized. Hey, esa gente son tonto, Mauricio.
It comes with the benefits. As I said, I don't mind critics. Critics help you to become better. When you have a direct critic that it's has no merit, then you just have to learn how to push it out and not get into you. But you're never perfect. I made mistakes, of course, and I learned from the critics. I learned from the mistakes, and I just have to move forward and try to do the best.
Okay, Mauricio, I got to say this. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm going to say that it'll be great to have you in about 3-4 months. Try and get you to have a little party with us to let us know what's going on in boxing. Would we be able to get you in the next few months to come back, and we'll do a proper live? I won't be stuck in the car. I won't be stuck with the audio problems. And I would hope to get you on a proper live with me and Punch. Would that be able to happen?
Absolutely. I will be very happy and honored to be in the program WRAPSTAR and Punch Drunk again.
Okay, well, I'm going to, maybe discuss with you behind the scenes, but I will say this. I've got a couple of brothers from the other side who've sent some questions for you. Just quick questions. So I got Guido. Guido is another brother from the other side of the pond. He says, so Teofimo Lopez is an undisputed fighter, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And then I've got another bro, Major Key Boxing. He's got a question saying that, so Teofimo Lopez, his belt is a championship belt with the franchise?
As I try to explain, it's a new concept. So
Okay.
Teofimo defeated Lomachenko. He became the undisputed, and now he's had special designation that puts him in a special place without any mandatory fights to be ordered, without any restrictions on what he can do with his career.
Okay. Hey, Mauricio, everybody around the world, the WBC president himself, Mauricio Sulaiman, exclusive interview with WRAPSTAR and PUNSH. Thank you so much, Mauricio, for coming to our show today.
Thank you so very much. Have a great weekend. All the best.
Thank you,
so much.
Mauricio. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Hey, can you stay on the line for 1 sec as I end the live?
Me?
Yeah, yourself. I'm going to end it and you'll be in the back.
Yes. I just have to run for a meeting, but yes, of
Okay,
course.
yeah, it'll be a quick second.